Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time. And as always, thank you very much to our fellow venator of Serene, Lux, Charlie, John, and Robert. Thank you very much for the support. It's always very much appreciated.
Thank you, our feral Soareign supporters. We love you. Yes, today it is just me and Kimmy as we talk about the movie Paris is Burning, which is a very foundational movie in queer culture.
Yeah, I had a little watch party yesterday on the Discord. It was, I think a lot of people were not available, but I got a few people joining for a bit. It was my first time watching it, and I loved it. But boy, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, I'm interested in your perspective because, so for our listeners, I've seen Paris is Burning twice. I watched it back in February, I think. And then I hosted a watch party at work for it. And that was this past week, which is why I didn't join in with the watch party on Discord. But yeah, I'm interested to see just your general vibe. It is sad, but there's a lot of joyous moments too.
Yeah, I think it was some part of it were fascinating, especially when they were talking about vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
There's some words, for example, that I don't watch Drag Race or this kind of thing, so there's some vocabulary that I may not be using. But for example, mother is something that you hear in a lot of fandom and this kind of thing. And understanding that's at the origin of it all, it's really about the caretaker of the house, and the word how it is used nowadays, I kind of lost that meaning. But it felt very much like it's a lot of people who don't have supporting family, so they find their own families within the ballroom scene, and among those houses that it's how they call them, there's one person that is a mother of the group and take care of the group and ensure that everyone's fine and everyone stays alive. And
which is a bleak but accurate way of putting it.
Yeah, and it was someone, I don't remember who said that, but they describe it that it's a mother that's the hardest worker and gets the most respect. And it warmed my heart because it's nice to see a community that value mothers that much.
Yeah.
I don't know, I didn't I love my mom, but it's not something that I've heard said about mother before.
Yeah.
Even if it should be said more.
Yeah, and even if it's referring to a house mother,
yeah,
and not what we typically think of mother. But I'm glad you liked it. I love this documentary. For those who are listening and who have not seen Paris is Burning, I have a little mini Professor Matt segment here. If you're fine with that, just to read out. Okay. Yeah. So Paris is Burning is a documentary. It was filmed over the course of 7 years in the mid to late 80s, and Jamie Livingston, the director, got over 75 hours of footage that she condensed into the 78-minute final cut. So the documentary focuses on drag ball culture, and if you've ever seen RuPaul's Drag Race, you will immediately understand where pretty much all of the vernacular and the slang on Drag Race comes from. So it does focus on drag and on ball culture in the 80s in Harlem, especially in voguing. But the director also said it's about survival. It's about people who have a lot of prejudices against them and who have learned to survive with wit, dignity, and with energy. And Paris is Burning served as a heavy inspiration for the TV show Pose. I think I haven't seen Pose, but I know a lot of people who have, and several people featured in the documentary made cameos on the show. Kimmy and I were talking about, where are they now?
For most of them, it's not great.
Yeah, most of them died, or most of them have passed on. Most of them from HIV/AIDS, because this is from that era of American history. So 3 of the main cast are still alive as of 2025. That's Freddie Pendavis, Sol Pendavis Williams, and Junior LaBeija. Freddie Pendavis is the guy in the military uniform.
Okay.
For those, yeah, he's the one in the military uniform. The director and many others featured throughout the film are also still alive and active. Like, some of them are like have careers now, like careers in fashion or design or whatever. It's just like the people most prominently featured they've mostly passed on.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even when you reach the end of the documentary, and it's a comeback to the ballroom a few years later, and that's like you're saying, Angie Extravaganza talking about the death of Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was rough, because it's like sad, but also not surprising, because trans women and drag queen have suffered a lot and are still suffering a lot. Yeah,
and Venus Extravaganza was both drag queen and trans. I'm pretty sure that like there's no several of the people in the documentary were just like cis gay men who were doing drag, but like Venus was a trans woman. And she was so full of life. But she was
talking a lot about how she was just dreaming about being a woman like any other. That was something that was very touching in this documentary, because a lot of the people in this documentary also comes from a very poor background. And it's kind of, from watching it feels like a lot of the voguing culture and the ballroom culture actually comes from a poor community trying to emulate what they see in magazines about like the rich people and what they're wearing and how they're posing. And that's where voguing comes from, because of the Vogue magazine. And it was very touching how the documentary insisted on like those people just want a life in a way, and not to struggle as they are struggling right now, and everything they have to go through in order just to survive.
Yeah, this is Paris is Burning. Like, it focuses on the Black and Latino community in Harlem in the 80s, and like, so most of the people who I guess pioneered or participated in this movement, it's mostly Black and Latino culture. And Venus Extravaganza was one of the few white people featured in the show, but like the white people are not. It's talking about intersectionality. Their whiteness is pretty much the only advantage they have, because they are poor, they are genderqueer, gender nonconforming, like Venus. So like everyone here is like just on the edges of marginalized society, even within marginalized society. And I do have yes, Venus was murdered in the course of filming the documentary, and that's a problem that is still rampant today. Some slightly silver lining, her family, both her biological family and her drag family, petitioned to have her name and gender legally changed. So like one thing that you don't get in the documentary is that Venus was very lucky in that her family, like her biological family, was supportive of her. Her grandmother specifically, which is something you do not get a lot of, especially in that time.
Yeah, that was, I again don't remember who said that, but there was someone that was talking about like being a gay black man, and his father saying, as black men you already have to strike against, like black men already have 2 strikes against you, and by being gay you're getting third strike. And it's like it really feels like that. But it was like, there is a few nicer story on those. I think it's Willie Ninja who did got a career later on fashion or dancing. I don't remember, choreography maybe.
Yeah, choreography. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of them didn't make it out. Just
Yeah, Willie Ninja died, I believe, in 2006, maybe.
Yeah. AIDS complication too.
AIDS complications.
45 years old, which is still young.
It is.
But yeah.
He did have a happier and more successful, like, he fulfilled his dreams in a way that some of that many of the cast did not. But, like, you can, like, tell, like, that man was so talented. Like, him just casually voguing in the middle of daylight with, like, boring white corporate New Yorkers around him, like, just not a care in the world. Like, dude was talented.
Yeah.
And dedicated.
Yeah, he did some runway modeling for Jean-Paul Gaultier. So pretty high thing.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, just generally it's a fun documentary, though it does have its sad moments, and, like, you also realize that a lot of these people are basically just kids, and they are, the only way for them to earn money is by sex work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did find it interesting that the documentary itself was, like, there was also, trying to find the name again, I think it was Dorian Corey.
Oh God, Dorian Corey.
Yeah, who's an older drag queen. And so it was interesting to get the contrast between what the kids were saying and her perspective as someone who had been in ballroom for a long time. So there was some moment about how things have evolved and also how her perspective on life had changed. Like towards the end of the documentary, there's this moment when she's talking about how she had hoped to become a star or something like that, and now, like, by the end of the documentary, she was more about how you don't have to bend the whole world, you just have to enjoy. Like, it's just better to just enjoy it and enjoy what you can have, which felt very much like a bit of it is like the big childhood dreams that you get a delusion of it, a disillusion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of, I feel like it's a feeling that many people go through because we all have crazy dreams as young people. And then when we're getting older, we're just finding a middle ground in a way. It's
yeah, Dorian Corey is a source of many of the popular slang phrases, because she was the one that they filmed who, like, defined these things for the audience and the directors.
Like a read, which I did not know what it was supposed to mean, getting a read at someone. And shade, like, I didn't know it was from that, from ballroom place too.
Yeah, we were talking in the Discord about, like, what makes something important as a book or a document or a film or whatever. And, like, Paris is Burning is important for the queer community because, like, so much of our modern culture, our modern vernacular comes from Paris is Burning. And it's just wild to think about, like, one documentary having that much influence that we don't even know because most people haven't even seen it.
Yeah, but so in case of Paris is Burning, yes, it has an influence on the queer community still today. I do think it's also, I want to say it's kind of a miracle that we get a documentary on the queer community at this time. That's the thing that I feel is missing some at time, is that we have so, like, histories made by the people in power in general. And that means that a lot of things of minorities' history just get erased and forgotten. And it's amazing that we get to have a direct memory and conservation of that bubble in time for the queer community. Especially when, like, I was looking a little bit about how that documentary was funded, and it was a struggle to get the money in order to make the documentary.
Oh yeah.
So I'm also thinking about that because this morning I finished reading After Sappho, which you really have to read because it's really good.
I need to read it.
And I think there's a lot of, like, I don't have a lot of culture, so there's a lot of people mentioned there that I didn't know before, but I think you're probably going to know a lot more people than I do. And it's just so interesting because it was also like kind of a bubble of queer women at a certain time period in a specific type of field. And it just, except those few lonely bubble of histories, there's so much about queer histories that we don't know because nobody took notes in a way.
Yeah.
Nobody cared enough. And that's something like I have a lot of admiration for the director of Paris is Burning because she's a white woman. She's queer, sure, but like the bad culture that is described there is not part of her heritage.
Right.
But she stumbled upon it and got curious and did the work in order to value this community and do something good with that documentary. And that's not like when you're not part of specific communities, people don't often do the work.
Yeah. I mean, she basically let them speak for themselves instead of inserting her perspective.
Yeah, but that's yes and no, because the thing is that with so many hours of footage, like, yes, you let people speak the way they want to speak, but if the editing is not done in a specific way, if the like just being able to film and take a step back and let those people express themselves, and also like being in a position like to be reliable enough and trustworthy enough that people can give yourself their truth, and doing a good job of presenting this truth in a positive way, like not a positive way, but in a real way for those people.
Yeah.
I think that does require a lot of work, not just like technical work, but also on like, it's
trust.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, her edit, like in the documentary, is very brilliantly edited. One of my favorite scenes or cut transitions is when Pepper LaBeija, who's very grouchy. She was very grouchy. She was basically talking about how, these kids, they all want these surgeries, and it like reminded me of like the current discourse of like, oh, kids shouldn't be having gender affirming care. But like the documentary cuts directly from Pepper LaBeija talking about how kids are getting their surgeries too soon, and then it cuts to two young trans women on the beach, and one of them just had their surgery, and she said something like, I feel as free as the wind or something.
Yeah.
And like yes, Pepper LaBeija was I mean, I'm not saying that she was bad, like she's not bad, like that's just, it's a very dated opinion to have, but then to contrast it directly with two young trans people, one of who has had her top and bottom surgery, and just like seeing how free and happy they are, like was a pretty brilliant editing cut in my opinion.
Yeah. It's the difference between Pepper LaBeija opinion and those kids kind of remind me of like nowadays when you talk to older queer generation that may not understand some of the labels or like everything regarding non-binary because it wasn't much of a thing for a long time. It kind of feel like that. It's just an evolution of a community, and also I think like Pepper LaBeija didn't want to do those surgery for herself because I can fully understand this worry that you don't know whether you're still gonna enjoy it in like the fear of the future in a way.
I mean, like we would call him these days a cis gay man or a cis queer man.
I mean, I think he got some breast implant.
Pepper LaBeija, I'm not quite sure. I don't know.
Yes. While not identifying as a woman, LaBeija had breast implant and prefers the feminine pronoun she.
Okay.
Yeah. I just didn't want to do bottom surgery, which fully valid.
Yeah. Like the idea of bottom surgery scares me. Like not like obviously like you need to have it for like if you need to like be validated in your identity and like be in the right body, but like just like the physical act of the surgery itself just seems, I could not. I would not be that brave.
Yeah, it's a big change, and you don't know like whether everything's going to be successful. And I actually, it made me also wonder how the medical state of like surgery, bottom surgery especially, has changed in the past few decades. Because
I am not sure. It's difficult because like a lot of the okay, so listeners forgive me, but it's like back then the word transvestite was a word that was a lot of them used, and it was just another way of identifying, and nowadays we would obviously not use that. So like it's hard to like I'm trying to think of the words to say, like whether or not somebody is trans, there's like so many like factors to that and like so many different aspects to that it's sort of hard to like go back and see like, so Venus, like Venus Extravaganza used the term transsexual, but I think these days she would probably have, just identified as transgender. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that labels evolve with time. There was actually a comment from Dorian Curry, but on a different topic. It was about the categories of the ballroom, and it was it was something about they created categories so that people can fit into different things, but then they needed to be like to be stickers to exact interpretation. And it felt very much how queer community with respect to labels have been, in a sense that we are creating labels so that more people can have a label for their own. But then like people get very strict about how to define a label and who should fit into that label. And it was the parallel between the two was hilarious to me.
It's like the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
And Dorian Corey, like we got to talk about the Dorian Corey of it all. Did you look up Dorian Corey after watching the documentary?
Oh, she had a dead person.
The mummy, yep. Dorian Corey's mummy. For those of y'all who are listening and have not seen or have seen but don't know, Dorian Corey, one of the drag queens who was interviewed, she had a skeleton in her closet. Like literally. She literally had a body in her a mummified remains of a man, and like she is like 99% like responsible for that body because the body had been in that apartment for about 20 years in that closet, and she had a lease of that apartment for about 30 years. So like it's not like it just happened and she just happened to move her. Like she did something.
Yeah, but like I wouldn't be surprised. Like there's a theory on Wikipedia that is that if they were a lover and there was some abuse situation and she just killed him and got rid of it, I mean, I'd be like, yeah, valid, girl, just
valid.
And let's be real, that was happening before. It just there was no internet to figure it out.
Right. Like, but yeah, like there's the body. Like we know who the body belongs to. I don't know the guy's name, but like. The theory is that he was an ex-lover, possibly abusive to her, and she was just like, nope.
Yeah, but who cares? I'm happy that, like, literally, I couldn't care less. The body was found, like, after Curry's death. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's...
Slay queen. Literally.
For one guy who died compared to all of the trans women who died because of stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm fine with...
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't get the sense that many people mourned this guy.
Yeah.
Like, nobody came around to, like, say, hey, do you know what happened to this dude? Like, I don't know. But yeah, so Dorian Corey is responsible for not just many gay vernacular, but the originator of Be Gay, Do Crimes.
Yeah.
Be gay, do crimes, stash a body in the closet.
Maybe that's going to be the title. Be gay, do crimes, stash a body in the closet. That's going to be too long and also may get us like caught by the FBI or something like that. I don't know.
But yeah, no, it's, yeah. Oh, Dorian. She has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. I really like her in the documentary. Yes, it's the older perspective on life, and there's the explanation of the different words that are being used. There's explanation, like there's an history of how things have evolved, and it was actually cute because she was talking about how during her time it was a lot with the pearls and the feather, and it's kind of something you find nowadays again with drag queens. Like you bring back the feather, you bring back the pearls, and I don't know. I think it's funny of things are just there's a time loop going on all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's like
things come back.
Like I said, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dorian, oh, bless her heart, she was tough too. Like, so the Criterion channel / the Blu-ray edition of the movie from Criterion has 2 hours of extra features, like just extra, not extra features, 2 hours of extra footage that didn't make it into the documentary. And in one of the scenes, they're interviewing Dorian. She's talking, and all of a sudden you just hear gunshots like right outside. It's like pop, pop, pop. And like people start running and like there's some screaming, and Dorian just like rolls her eyes and goes, "Oh, whatever, this neighborhood." And it's just like, just casual gunshots on a Sunday. She was not fazed at all.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was trying to get the Criterion DVD, but I think it's region lock to the US. So even if I was buying it, I probably wouldn't be able to read it. So
I do know I'm on the surprising nobody. I'm on the Criterion subreddit, and I think there's people in the UK who like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure how that works.
I mean, it's funny because I saw the DVD on like Amazon and a few other places, but there was comment about people saying, "Hey, it's a region lock in the US. You're not going to be able to read it." So didn't want to try it.
Region lock stuff is the dumbest shit, honestly.
Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit.
I also wanted to talk about those two boys, those two precious kids.
Oh yeah, the kids. I don't remember whether their name were mentioned or
they were not. But yeah, there's two kids. They're just called the Paris is Burning kids. They're like 15 and 13, on the streets, likely doing sex work to, just to earn money to live. But they were just, those kids. One of them, the internet tracked down one of them a few years ago, and he is on Instagram. So he is alive and well. He's like 39 now or something. Or like 40. No, not 39. He'd be too. He's like in his 40s now. He's like early 40s.
Yeah, because it was 40 years old again.
Yeah. We do not know what happened. So the blue shirt kid is the one who we know where he is. His name is Angelo something, I think. The white shirt kid, we do not know whatever happened to him. He just sort of disappeared, which is sadly pretty common.
Yeah, I mean, when you were listening to those kids, one of them doesn't have a family anymore because probably got kicked out. The other one is still living with his mom. Who knows what's going to happen then? It's unfortunately probably the story of a lot of like queer kids of like that time and those community. Not a lot of accepting families, and yeah. It's among those things that I'm hopeful that things have changed at least a little bit for the better. Yes, there are still kids getting kicked out, but the proportion is probably a lot lower than it used to be.
It is, yeah. I mean, I still think it's a very timely documentary. Like this feels like it should be purely a relic of the past, but unfortunately, it's not.
It's not. Especially these days. When you see the increase of like controversies about drag queens and this kind of thing, or like censor of queer books and this kind of thing.
There's actually a quote from Michelle Parkerson, who wrote an essay for the Criterion Collection in 2020, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but obviously, but this quote I like. It's a paragraph. It says, "The defiant joy we witness in the ball walkers at so many moments of the film Despite the AIDS pandemic, racism, homophobia, transphobia, poverty, homelessness, violence, harassment, addiction, and whatever other hardships they may have been dealing with at any given time was infectious in 1990 when the film premiered and remains so today. In this era of fake news, hate speech, anti-trans legislation, the resurgence of white supremacist ideology, immigration blockades, and mass violence to suppress social change and human rights advancements, Paris is Burning still provides a vision of vibrant resistance, a fierce proclamation that queer and trans lives matter now as they did then. This message, along with the unique performance culture and the everyday lives that Paris illuminates for us, makes it a global revelation when it was released and has since elevated it to legendary status.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a very good quote. Yeah, actually, like one thing that I was curious about, because in the ballroom we mostly see gay men and drag queen / trans women. I don't think we see a lot of queer women.
No, at least there were some, but not interviewed. Because I know that drag kings were also a thing. It's something I would be interested to know more about. I think there may have been some in the 2 hours, the extra 2 hours of footage, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I was able to find some of those footage. Maybe I'll check it out. But it's I don't know, watching this kind of made me also yearn for more queer communities. Because I've never really found like queer communities except online.
Yeah, it's hard.
And it's hard. It's like still today, like it's funny because still today I still yearn for queer communities despite like queer rights having progressed. But since queer rights progressed for a lot of people, it felt like queer community were not needed anymore, maybe. I don't know, like you don't see a lot of queer bars, like there's one gay bar in Oxford and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think COVID also did a lot to
probably
destroy communities, not just the queer community. I mean, queer communities and marginalized communities are most impacted, but like I see a lot of people yearning for a sense of community and belonging. Like, you know, we became much more online in the wake of COVID, and online communities can tend to be very volatile and not as close and tight-knit as an in-person community. Not to say that online communities are bad, because they're very much not. Like, I love my online communities, but like there really is no substitute for seeing people and having community in person. And I feel like COVID changed a lot of that, and I feel like a lot of people are just now saying, hey, I miss this and I want to have this again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. To be fair, I probably also could find more community if I was moving my ass. But alas, I'm also an introvert. It's always a complicated part, wanting more queer friends, but also hating having to meet new people in very random environment.
Constant struggle for friendships in adulthood.
Yeah, basically. What else did I have to say about this movie? Yeah, there's a quote from Venus that girl should have stayed alive so much longer. There's a moment where there's a discussion about real woman, real man, and she's saying something about how like some people are gonna have trouble with her, and other people are gonna think she's the most gorgeous, special thing on earth. And
I got that quote for you.
That was, I don't know, I love that quote a lot.
Yeah.
And it's true.
It is. So for our listeners, the exact quote is, because of course I have it on hand. Some of them say that we're sick, we're crazy, and some of them think that we are the most gorgeous, special things on earth.
Yeah.
And I could never deliver it the way that Venus does. And she didn't even deliver it dramatically. She was just saying it while laying on her bed.
Yeah. Her and, was it Octavia, maybe?
Octavia Saint Laurent?
Yeah. Like, both of them, I yeah, I felt very sad for the two of them in a way, because I mean, it just they're those two talked a lot about their dreams and how they just wanted a simple life that was not just about being poor and struggling constantly. And it's they deserve better.
Yeah, they did. Octavia St. Laurent, I mean, she was gorgeous. And she also has passed at 2009 at the age of 45. Again with well, she was diagnosed with cancer, but I'm fairly certain that that's like, tied in with HIV.
Yeah.
So
I saw I think it was Angie Extravaganza. I was shocked when I learned she died at like 29 because it's she felt like the mother of the house. It's like you wanted to see her forever, and she did not get to 28 actually. Who was also? I think there was someone, I don't remember, who died from cancer that probably was due to some of the black market hormone she was taking, but I don't remember who that was. It's poor medical health care too, and anyway, very much a documentary to watch.
Yes, it's despite some of the heavy stuff, it is a joyful watch.
Yeah, it's actually what makes it painful at the end, because it's a moment of joy in time, and you know what comes after. But it's still so beautiful to find communities that struggle so much and still find those moments of joys. And I guess it's also a good reminder for us that even in tough time, we can still find those moments of joy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we need to find those moments of joy.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what actually help us go through difficult time, and
it's how we survive.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to chat about?
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Queer Time. If you have not watched Paris is Burning yet, you really should. It's really, really a good watch. As always, you can find us on most social media platforms, Blue Sky, Tumblr, sometimes TikTok and Instagram. What else? We're also on Discord. Please join our Discord. It's always nice to chat with more people and build our own online queer community.
Yeah, community.
Yeah. And if you want to support us, we do have a Patreon. And that's pretty much it. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.